Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The countdown has begun. Just 2 hours now, 120 minutes, and Nirmala Sitharaman, Finance Minister, is expected to come out of her Kartavya Bhavan any moment now, with her team flanking her to leave for Rashtrapati Bhavan. We're looking at for Bharat and what it has in store with this budget. For Bharat to become Viksit and self-reliant, India needs to turn Swadeshi. That's been something that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been talking about and emphasizing on. And a little hint came when on Mahatma Gandhi's death anniversary on Friday, he made this point. He gave the hint that Swadeshi was the way to go forward. Atmanirbharta has been a very big cornerstone of this government. Will the world buy Indian without thinking, instead of thinking about, just going global? Should we actually be looking inwards? That is what we're looking at. And Hina, there are some specifics. Custom duty rollback, 7% uniform rate across imports. That's something that has been talked of. What do you think the finance minister could do to give a leg up to Atmanirbharta?
Well, it's very clear that our focus this time is going to be to ensure India becomes self-reliant. A self-reliant India is something that's a big hope for the world. This is what the Prime Minister has also said during the signing of FTA with EU. Now, Arvind Panagria, a very well-known economist, in fact, he has written an article. He has spoken about 6 reforms, and he specifically said, ye dil mange more. 2025, we saw a lot of reforms. He said 2026, ye dil mange more. He has said 7% uniform rate should be there across all imports. I don't know if that's possible or not. He has said you should roll back the custom duties. He says that India should conclude the India-US trade deal as soon as possible.
I agree with him. It's just that if he can help convince President Donald Trump, this will move very fast.
But in the Eco Survey, the chief economic advisor...
Yeah, and he's a professor at Columbia, so maybe, just walk across and tell somebody there.
Doesn't have a good image right now with
President. Finance Commission. Okay. Now he's the Finance Commission chief. Okay. By the way, Eco Survey, ma'am, has made it very clear that by the end of this year, we could see the trade deal getting concluded. So we have got a timeline coming in from the government. Then third reform, Panagria sir has mentioned, is that don't overvalue the rupee. Very important point, because opposition has been talking about how India is a dead economy by quoting how rupee has been on a free fall mode. Mr. Panagria has said that do not really keep an eye on our exports. That's very, very important. We need to be an export-driven economy. Withdraw all quality control orders. Now, if something to this extent is announced by the finance minister, it will be very important for exporters. This is very, very significant. Lastly, they have said clip wings of Directorate General of Trade Remedies. Essentially, focus on trade.
Absolutely. And Madhav, in times, I also am looking at the macroeconomic goals of the government. In times, in the year that we've had Operation Sindoor, I'm sure defense is top on the budget.
Absolutely. Defense spending, of course, is expected to increase. Defense manufacturing has drastically increased. We've increased our indigenization to a large extent. Our exports have gone up over the last decade. So there's a lot that has happened as far as the defense aspect is concerned. Just look at the numbers as far as defense spending is concerned. 6.81 lakh crores, 9.53% is of course higher than 2024-25 is of course what we're looking at. 13.45% of the union budget, the highest in fact is what we are looking at as far as the defense spending is concerned. So this is of course going to be a huge area. We're looking at perhaps more procurement as well, not just in terms of our indigenization, but as far as our foreign procurement of arms as well. And of course, in these extremely troubled times, we're looking at Russia, Ukraine, we're looking at what's happening in relation to...
10% increase in defense outlays is what we are expecting. Is that a step in the right direction, you would think, Jaggi?
Absolutely. I think we need to raise defense to about from 2 to 2.5%. We are under 2% right now. So for that, 9 and 10% is not going to cut, is not enough. You have to move at least 15 to 20% this year for the next 5 years. And unless you do that, you're not going to be able to defend yourself in a very unsecure global environment where you have two enemies.
I know, where presidents get kidnapped in the dead of night.
I just want to add something. I think it's a good thing now, because we wouldn't be spending a lot of our precious foreign exchange in this, because in the last 30 years, if one positive thing has happened in the defense sector, it is that our defense procurement is now increasingly more indigenous. While 70% of what our equipment we used to procure in 1990 was foreign made, now it is exact opposite. Yeah. So, you know, if we increase our defense budget, we'll be actually giving more money to the Indian companies to buy stuff from them.
Exports will grow up, which means we'll have more foreign currency. And exports and defense is one thing that I do appreciate. Though I'm an opposition, I do appreciate this. But also we'll have to spend in more money on R&D in defense, because combat will now not be face-to-face. It'll all be technologically driven, AI driven. So we'll have to spend in more in research and defense and give incentives for that.
See, not just in defense. If you, there's something very interesting I'd like to bring about here. Now, India spends 0.69% of its GDP on R&D,
correct,
which is the lowest amongst BRICS, one of the lowest in the world. If you look at South Korea or America, it's 6% of the GDP. But the difference is the Indian government spends as much percentage of GDP as the American government. It's just that the private sector makes up for the rest in America and South Korea. So our private sector has to come up and start spending money on R&D.
And therefore that tax benefits there. Yes, sir. Why is the private sector...
All right, those are visuals coming from Kartavya Bhavan, where Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is coming out. I think that is a Pune weave sari. Monica, if I can pick
Last year was Madhubani.
Yes, but this
Anand
year
knows more about saris than I do.
No, it's a Kanjivaram. Well, it's a Kanjivaram, and there it is. Tamil Nadu elections have been announced. It's a Kanjivaram sari that Nirmala Sitharaman is wearing. Well, last year was Madhubani. I'm looking at every single hint.
In West Bengal than Tamil Nadu. Why don't they?
Well,
Dhaka.
Sitharaman ji is...
Dhaka is not allowed.
No. Tamil Nadu is on the agenda, and she's wearing a Kanjivaram sari, a nice earthy reddish maroon one. And look at the team of all her secretaries, expenditure, revenue, also financial services and banking secretaries flanking her. The tablet, which is gone sleek and small. The Bahi Khata is inside it, and joining me this morning is Shehzad Poonawala joining the broadcast. And Shehzad, is the indication right there in front of us? Tamil Nadu is what is going to be the flavor of this budget, Shehzad, with the finance minister making it very clear. Last year was a Madhubani sari when Bihar elections were around the corner. I'm looking at hints, all of us are. What do you think this budget is going to make a point about, Shehzad?
Navika, if you want a bigger hint, then look at the building that she has gone into before presenting the budget. It's an Atmanirbhar Bharat building. It's no longer North Block. It's now in Kartavya Bhavan. So her 9th budget is the first budget which is being given in a way, symbolically, if you are going into the symbolism. See what Madam Finance Minister wears is entirely her choice. I am nobody, and especially as a man, to patronize or sermonize or weigh in on that. But let me tell you what are the big hints that you can take. From 11th position, Nirmala Sitharaman ji has piloted this economy into the 4th position, and we are going into 3rd position. We are having a historic low inflation rate. We are having historic high foreign exchange reserves. We are having historic high profitability of banks, and in this particular climate, and we are also having a very high consumption. If you see the data, private consumption is at a high now. So this way she has navigated the economy, and she has taken the reforms express forward. The GST reform, GST 2.0, simplifying business, direct tax reform, zyada paisa aapke haathon mein 12 lakh rupees tak no tax. Then after that, the digital infrastructure reform, spending on capital expenditure, physical infrastructure reform, and now you will see that this reform express will be taken forward. Why, Navika? Because you have studied economics. Ironically, you have also done it from Pune, my city. You would know that we are living in globally uncertain times, which means that even if we have very good macroeconomic factors, it does not mean macroeconomic rewards. And therefore, in this era of tariffs being weaponized, in this era of fragmented supply chains, we need to diversify our markets. We need to make our brands so competitive that they can fight and compete against the best brands in the world, and therefore we need to go from regulation to enabling environment, and that's what you will see, that the reforms
we all agree that regulation has to make way for putting Indian brands out there. But who's stopping you, Shehzad Poonawalla? You've had 11.5 years to do so. Not too many regulations have been disbanded, but coming back to the politics of things, Monojit Mandal also joining this broadcast, as is Sanjay Jha, also welcoming Vaishali Nigam Sinha, co-founder and chairperson of Sustainability in Renew, and joining the broadcast is Amrish Baliga, market expert. First, let me come to you, Monojit Mandal. In Bengal, where elections are expected to be held in just about maybe 60 days from now, any time after that, what are you looking at the budget for? Do you think you're ready to support a budget that takes India forward, does away with regulations, and helps investments in this country?
Very good morning to all of you and to my co-panelists. Look, we are not very hopeful about the budget. We know that elections are happening in 5 states. There could be some, election gimmick as far as the budget is concerned. But if you look at the overall scenario of Indian economy for this last 1 year at least, it's been seen that Trump tariff war has taken place. Indian economy is going down and down, further down, especially in the last 6 months. And that is suggested in the market itself. Look at the volatility of the market for the last 6-7 months. I mean,
interrupting you for a second, because those are visuals of the finance minister, her cavalcade with her officials, all moving to Rashtrapati Bhavan for the conventional cup of tea. And I think it is dahi gur that the president fed her last time as a best of luck message, a traditional conventional message. Priyank Tripathi joining me from Vijay Chowk. Priyank.
See, Navika, this is for the first time this route has been taken by Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, who's going to be presenting the budget for the 9th time. And earlier, what we used to see that this south block from where, north block from where she used to leave, it was barely 30 seconds of time period when she used to reach the Rashtrapati Bhavan. But now, since we have been telling you to our viewers that the location has changed, this is the new route which is being taken. But there are many things which is expected, that the finance budget for the defense is going to be one of the key factor, because the kind of 80,000 crore allocation which is expected to be there in defense is going to be important factor. Plus those non-communicable diseases also has been given very clear indication by the government of India, like they have spoken about obesity, Prime Minister has already spoken. Then those diseases like heart attack risk and other things are already a big concern for the society. Railway is the study going to be a focus, although new projects are not study something which can be seen coming up. But like Kavach 4, which is there for the protection of the railway security and other things, modification basically is certainly something which is going to be the key factor. From here, the FM along with the other cabinet members will be moving out from the Rashtrapati Bhavan approximately around half an hour after that, and from there she will take the same route, come down, and then here on my right hand side is the Parliament House, where she will be going and where the budget will be presented at 11 a.m. today.
Well, Priyank, thank you very much for that update. But Monojit Mandal has absolutely no expectations, and he says the economy is going down. Which part of the economy is going down, Monica Hallan?
Navika, when politics curdles your brain, you don't look at data. And I will just read out US growth for this year 4%, China 5%, Germany 0.2%, Japan 1.1%, India 7.4%. In which world has the economy done badly? I simply don't understand.
In which world has the economy done badly, Monojit Mandal? The numbers, the data does not support the proposition you're putting out.
Amazing. Look at the rate of employment in the last 5-6 years. Look at the price rise in the last 5-6 years.
Okay, let's look
Those
at
are
the
also
data.
not
Give me a
just
minute.
I
data.
love the
Data can be
ingenuity of
fast,
politicians.
but
Shehzad
people
Poonawala,
goods.
when they talk of growth, we give them the growth numbers, then they talk of unemployment. So clearly shifting of goalposts.
No, let me. No. Even if he wants to come on unemployment, employment, by the way, the PLFS data, the WPR data, the labor force data, the RBI claims report, the SBI report, all indicate to robust employment being generated. Let me give you an anecdotal example. There were 400 startups. Today there are 2 lakh plus startups. Who do you think it's employing? Obviously not Monojit Da, but the youth of this country are getting employed. Secondly, the economy is dead is the narrative of the Nawabs of negativity. We have the highest growth rate. IMF has testified it. We are seeing report after report how we are reaching 8% growth rate. We have the lowest NPAs, the lowest inflation rate. Last month it was less than 2% inflation rate, consumer price index. But having said that, Navika, can I give you a formula today? One formula, simple formula. See, today you have said about Sadi of Nirmala ji. It's reflecting the boost that we are giving to textiles, even in the Indo-EU FTA. That is also there and evident. Maybe she's symbolizing that. But today's budget will be Gita budget. Now, Navika, some people will get upset. Gita क्या है? G for growth, I for infrastructure, T for technology, A for आत्मनिर्भर भारत. ये गीता बजट होने वाला है. अब देखो गीता सुन के विवेक श्रीवास्तव एक्सप्लोड हो जाएंगे. विवेक एक्सप्लोड ना हो जाए.
Vivek Srivastava, you have a problem with the Gita budget? You're on mute. I didn't put you on mute. You've done it to yourself.
More from Shehzad. I expect more from Shehzad. Very learned guy, qualified, law का पूरा knowledge रखते हैं या गीता budget कर रहे हो. Healthcare पे बात करो ना. And if you say that you're comparing the figures with
गीता से एलर्जी क्यों है?
नहीं गीता से एलर्जी क्या? हर चीज में कभी जी राम जी विकसित भारत ग्राम जी का आप फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स तो देखो. You don't cover up so many people who deserve it. और फिर आप उसमें राम का नाम हर चीज में घुसा देते हो. हर चीज में रिलीजन का कार्ड खेलना.
कमाल है. राम के नाम से दिक्कत है, गीता के नाम से दिक्कत है. क्या प्रॉब्लम है? Sanjay Jha, before I come to you, the markets have opened in the green. Let me go across to Amrish Baliga joining us this morning. Amrish Baliga, what are the markets expecting this morning from the Union Finance budget? On a Sunday, markets are open. Well, strange things don't cease happening in this country. What are your expectations?
See, first of all, if you look at the revenue receipts, they have been lower than budgeted. So I think it would be a very tightrope walk for the finance minister. And I doubt whether there will be any major change in personal taxation, which people are expecting, since I think the major change had happened last year. So, this year there will be no major change. The change which I expect clearly is the capital gains exemption limit, which is 1 lakh to be raised to about 2 lakhs. There could be some sort of a tax exemption limit for fixed deposits. I think that's been a demand for a long time. That's quite low at 10,000. I think that would be increased. From a market perspective, securities transaction tax, that could be reduced, because when it was introduced, we didn't have any capital gains tax, long-term capital gains tax. That was zero. Now capital gains tax has increased. So I think at some point of time, SCT has to be reduced. And I think this year that could happen. And I think one of the major issues which the market is suffering is FII selling. And FII started selling when their taxation was tweaked. So I think this year we could see some sort of a reduction in taxation for FIIs to make it attractive for them to again come back and reinvest in India. And my personal issue as far as the budget is concerned is the dividend taxation. I think that is double taxation. The company is paying a tax, then again the recipient is paying a tax. So somewhere I think the finance minister has to look at removal or reduction of taxation on dividends.
Well, I absolutely agree with everything you're saying, and I'll add a few wish lists of our own. Personal taxes way too high for the small base that actually pays taxes. The base has increased, has expanded, hasn't expanded as much to be able to bring down the overall tax rates. So I think viewers watching this broadcast clearly dil mange more. Yes, some tax breaks were given last year, but a little more doesn't hurt anybody. Also joining me, Vaishali Nigam Sinha. Vaishali, what are your expectations from the point of view of India Inc., corporate India? What are you looking at? Most people say India is an over-regulated market. Do you think a budget is the place where these reforms will be kick-started, or do you think these issues are best tackled outside the budget?
Yeah, hi Navika. It's great to be here on your show. And, from saris to Geeta, I want to add my healthy sandwich bit here. I think what I'd like to see the finance minister do, first of all, I want to say it's really exciting for women, young women, to see the finance minister present the budget for the 9th time. And it really has an impact. That's great. I also want to say I'm just back from Davos, where the world gathered. And, we saw disappearing multilateralism, moving towards diversification. And you know what? India was at the heart of it all. So whatever we say, India is there. Atmanirbharta is because of the people of India. And I really do hope we can see a lot more in the budget for, around skilling, etc., because the world is coming to India because of its people, because of India being one of the fastest growing economies. And actually, I am from the renewable energy sector, and I want to say we've been the fastest growing renewable energy play in the world. So that counts for a lot, and renewable energy forms the base of the biggest thing which we are seeing, listening around the world, and that is AI infrastructure. So I do hope that in this budget, we do lay down a framework. I mean, just like a test match, slightly longer term. I think we reset every 5 years. I want to see the framework for AI, which also encourages our sector, RE. And then I also want to see us continuing what we've been doing, because honestly, the budgets are budgets, they come and go. But what's really been good is the reform, right? And what I'd like to see is a healthy sandwich being offered by the finance minister, one which has more reform, which has less subsidies, and has more restraint, fiscal restraint. I'm hoping that will make for a good base.
Well, that's a lot you're asking for, but we're getting in breaking news, a key update for the salaried class. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you viewers. Top sources telling Times now that major changes should not be expected in the upcoming tax framework. According to our sources, the scope for tax rate tweaks remain limited. Hina, what does that mean? That 12 lakh exemption, that's it. 12 lakhs is where it will stay, and nothing for us, even though it's a Sunday, nice day that we are doing the budget coverage on.
Abhi itna intezar karke 12 lakh mila. Now wait for some more years. And Monica
2029 election time.
Exactly. Monica Hallan has already said LTCG, should not really be reduced. So wahan par bhi koi relief nahi aane wala. Unfortunately.
But I'm listening to Amrish Baliga. But because he said it should be there.
And they'll always mange more.
He said STT should be removed, which is right. And basically, they should not increase. I'm saying please don't increase the long-term capital gain, because the banks are pressurizing for that. So we are hoping that it doesn't get worse. But
salary class actually wants LTCG to go down because they feel hum thoda bahut kama rahe market se, usme bhi you are taxing.
And it's a risk asset. Like, please reward me for taking risk. You wanted financialization, we are doing it. And
I know. Nobody is looking at the middle classes and there. And middle class is no longer the favorite class of the government.
Middle class. I'm sorry.
What are you?
You're like upper.
Like Vivek Srivastava.
We have not struck a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. We are a class that has worked hard and worked for 36 years to get where we have. So come on, don't tax us towards the end. And we don't have any pension, safety nets. We don't have any healthcare safety nets. So
I think one thing that citizens are looking for right now, look, the economy is in very good shape. You can say it's in great shape. Monica has the numbers. We can say the truth, weeds from the chaff has to be separated. Talk about facts. But citizens also expect a degree of frankness from the government, which I'm afraid even the economic survey sometimes does not give the true picture. For example, everyone's talking about how the public sector banking system has been reformed. The fact is, since 2014, the written off NPAs of public sector banks amount to about 13 lakh crores. How much of it has been recovered? 12%. What about the rest? That is our money. So everyone's going gaga over, look how the NPA system has been reformed, and the 10 lakh crores is not with the Indian people. Who's going to get that back? And we can't harp about, yes, there were reasons why the NPAs increased. Of course, the previous dispensation had to blame. But let's be frank about how much reform we have had. That's all I want.
Well, then you are somebody who will echo what Sanjay Jha will probably have to say. Sanjay Jha saw red the minute the word Gita was mentioned. Sanjay Jha, what's your problem with the Gita? And I know your problem with Shehzad Poonawala, but Gita se kya problem hai?
Navika, good evening. I think good morning rather. But I believe it's evening and sunset for the Indian economy overall, and it's pretty evident. But let me go down and make 4 points based on what I've heard on your program right now. Number one, my friend Poonawala talked about the IMF, and I need to tell the viewers of your program that the IMF has called India's statistical data in national and GDP accounts as suspect. It calls it C grade. And I think it's a national embarrassment for India, calling itself a big economy, to be ridiculed worldwide by investors and analysts and countries as having a data that cannot be trusted. My point number two, I would appreciate I'm not interrupted. I'm making 4 quick points. You have some lady economist on your program who had the audacity to say, or rather I would call the cheekiness to say, that India is growing at 7% compared to America at 5% and China at 5%. And
which lady are you referring to? There is some lady economist, some lady anchor, some lady finance minister. Specify the lady.
You interrupted
and if you don't know the names, then you're extremely ignorant. I would have expected better from you.
Yeah. But then, I expected you to not interrupt me, Navika. I think her name is
but I can't help it when you provoke me so much.
I've answered you. Now do not interrupt me till I finish. Navika, in the fairness of a debate, let's not be interrupted. I've hardly spoken. She talked about India at 7, China at 5, and India at 4, and said we are the fastest growing economy. To the viewers of this program, China's GDP is over 20 trillion. America is closing it at nearly 30. And she's comparing their growth rates with an economy at 4 trillion at 7%. I mean, this is the kind of bizarre, ridiculous nonsense that we should not be discussing on the day of the budget. Point number three.
You can't go on for point number 3 and 4 till the first 2 are resolved. 1 minute, one at a time. I just don't like the tone and tenor of Sanjay Jha, and I deeply have a problem with this. The manner in which he called out the lady economist, almost as if ladies don't have the right to be economists and you are a better economist than anybody else. Your tone, Sanjay Jha, for the first time in my life, I've had a problem with your tone. I don't know if it was a Saturday night hangover coming on to Sunday morning, because morning mein agar aapko raat dikh rahi hai that there is a problem, either you are in the United States of America and that part of the world, or you don't see any of the realities of India. But Monica Hallan, the floor is yours to respond to Mr. Sanjay Jha in the manner that you deem fit. Please.
For a 4 trillion economy to get to 20 trillion, we do need a rate of growth. And if that rate of growth is 7.4, hopefully increasing over the years, that's the road that we will take. Now, to expect an economy to grow at 10 and overheat, like what happened in UPA 1, would be extremely dangerous. So the calibration is to keep the growth rate so that we don't implode. We don't have a problem the way that we had of very high inflation in that period. So it's just that. So are we going to argue that we should immediately go from being a poor country to a rich country? Or do sensible people see a pathway which goes through middle income India? I would see a pathway which goes through middle income India, and this leap is very dangerous. You can also crash and fall. like what we saw with the economy overheating in UPA 1.
Well, yes, but they don't have any memory of what happened to the economy in UPA 1. All their expectations are from Modi 1, 2 and 3 and Anand Ranganathan.
Fair enough, but to Sanjay's point, this is the problem. It's commonsensical. It is a like-for-like comparison. Now, whatever the IMF might have said as to what the Indian numbers are, they were the same last year as well. When you're talking of rate of growth, the numbers don't matter. And secondly, I want to ask Sanjay, do you believe the Chinese GDP numbers?
Okay, Anand, let me answer your question very quickly, okay? I got interrupted. I was expecting that. Obviously, I'm not surprised by that at all. But there is another, I don't know everybody. So, Navika, stop imposing on me the liability of knowing everybody's name. I'm probably getting empathy.
If you don't know Monica Hallan, if you don't know Monica Hallan, Sanjay Jha, seriously, some introspection is in order. Some introspection is in order.
Madam, it's your introspection you need to worry about, because for the third time, despite 4 requests, you're interrupting me. So here is the point.
I am, because today you're being unbearable, which is not normally the case. Sorry, Sanjay Jha, you're prickly this morning.
Numbers don't lie, Navika. This is not rhetoric. So here is my answer to somebody who mentioned that subsidies need to be cut, and she has just returned from Davos. So let me ask her a question. Does she have any comment on the fact that today India has 1% people owning 40% of its wealth? And where did the 1,50,000 crore tax rebate given to the corporate sector in 2019 for private investment and jobs, where is it gone? You think
all right, we'll get you answers to that. Vaishali not on the show anymore. Shehzad will respond to you, but those are visuals coming from Rashtrapati Bhavan. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman with another lady secretary next to her. Sanjay Jha, please take a note. And all her other secretaries joining her. And that is Pankaj Chaudhary, the Minister of State for Finance, awaiting the arrival of Rashtrapati Draupadi Murmu ji, and to her will be presented the first copy of the budget. But Shehzad Poonawalla, the 1% that owns 40% of the wealth actually includes Sanjay Jha. Do you think he should give up his wealth first, Shehzad Poonawalla?
Navika, first of all, what I just witnessed, and since Tehseen and I have been raised by single mother, I think it is called mansplaining, where you look down upon the competence of a woman merely because she is a woman. So she cannot be economist, she can't be president. In fact, President of India will be the one receiving Nirmala ji very soon. So we have a president who's a woman, we have an editor-in-chief of this channel who's a woman, we have a very reputed economist in Monica Hallan, and we also have a finance minister who's a woman, and this is the power of Nari Shakti which Sanjay Jha has been looking down upon. Having said that, Sanjay Jha would forget that the Gini coefficient by which you measure the distance between haves and have-nots has actually tremendously increased and improved in the last 10-11 years. It is not that 1% has been having a majority of the resources right from 2014 onwards. This has been the case. This skewed development has been the gift of Congress party, but in fact Mr. Anand Ranganathan is there and he will quote you the Gini coefficient number as to how it has improved in the last 11 years. But having said that, let me address 2 points, Navika. Small difference of opinion with you. You said कि देखो 12 लाख का दे दिया last year, अब middle class को कुछ नहीं मिला. नाविका जी, अभी तो GST 2.0 में हमने 95% items के prices reduce करवाए हैं. अभी तो हमने free हेल्थ केयर 50 करोड़ पीपल को मिलता है, प्लस जन औषधि केंद्र में 90% डिस्काउंट में दवाइयां मिलती है. दैट इज ऑल्सो फॉर द कॉमन मैन. अभी नाविका जी हमने देखा ब्रॉडबैंड जो 1 GB 350 रुपए का आता था, दैट कम्स फॉर 10 rupees, which means it's a saving of almost 30 to 40,000 rupees per household for the 150 GB of data. अभी तो हमने देखा है कि लोएस्ट इन्फ्लेशन रेट है ऑफ अबाउट 1 or 2%. Which means that growth हो रहा था, आपकी इनकम बढ़ रही थी, पर इन्फ्लेशन खा रहा था, पर अब वो आपकी जेब में जा रहा है. नाविका जी, आज हमने 25 करोड़ लोगों को गरीबी से निकाला है. नाविका जी, और संजय झा को सिर्फ एक ही चीज कह सकता हूं, ही roams around with the gang.
There is no law last I saw which prevents us to hope for more, Shehzad Poonawalla, and you can't take the hope away from middle class India. Call it middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, but the middle class has the right to hope for more. If the opposition doesn't have hopes, that's not my liability. But let me get in Ram Pratap Singh ji. Ram Pratap Singh ji, you know, somewhere or the other, I see a very, very stark comparison. बीजेपी को कुछ गलत नजर ही नहीं आता और आपको कुछ सही नजर ही नहीं आता in the economy. Obviously, the truth is somewhere in between. How do you see the economy currently poised, and what are your expectations from this budget?
Good morning, Navika. You're very right. There is a very buoyant mood about how the Indian economy is growing at a very healthy rate. But my only contention is, as you rightly said, the story is somewhere in between. This growth is not across sectors, and there are many Indias that we inhabit. And the top 1 or top 10% that we've been talking about is actually taking away most of the benefit of this India growth story. Whereas at the bottom end, people are, I mean, there are estimates that 25 crore people have come out of the poverty discourse, but there is some numbers which I would like to quote here. There is something known as NEET, not in employment, education and training. And unfortunately, 32.9% of our youth between 15 and 29 years of age are in NEET. We are talking about gender equality. 59.5% of the women are in NEET. So if they are not employed or educated or trained, how do we see the growth story reaching to them? That's where what I expect from this budget, that the focus has to be of investment in the rural infrastructure and the rural domain, which has not been happening. Last 7, 8, 10 budgets, I have expected that there will be a substantial infrastructural investment in the rural sector, where the new growth story for India, the reforms 2.0 or 3.0, is actually about rural India. And that's where I think the budget should be headed.
Well said, Ram Pratap ji, but Rohit Azad.
I think first I would say that I take strong exception to the way Sanjay Jha has mentioned, and this is a very sexist response to what should have been about substance. Right. Right. At the same time, on certain issues, I think the facts need to be on the table. Why has the IMF said, has given a C grade? We need to understand that there's an economics behind it, and the logic is very simple. India's GDP calculation currently is based on single deflation, which essentially, if you give me 2 minutes, I can explain. So what you do is you find out the real output and you subtract the real input from it, which is what gives you the GVA of any sector. Now, if you do not count the two differently, which is what it should be, let's say that the input, the prices have been negative, then you would actually think that it is an increase in profit, but it is not really an increase in profit. There is a difference between prices of output and a difference between prices of input. If you do not correct for that, which is what India is going to actually, now in the new series, that correction is going to happen. And in all likelihood, the number of 7.4 is going to come down. So that's the reality. That's the reason why it has been given.
But do you agree that it's a rate of growth?
Just 1 second. So the rate of growth is going to come down. The volume of GDP is going to go up. So there's logic to that. It's not, just like that it has been said. So it's an important point. I think that is not to say that growth has not happened. I mean, that would be wrong, factually incorrect. But unless the growth reaches to the people of this country, you may actually get a K-shaped growth, which is the reality. If you look at bicycles, if you look at motorcycles, if you look at small cars, the growth has not really taken place in that sector. There has been growth, but the growth has been at the top end. And one last point I would like to make, comparing it what happened with the UPA and high rate of growth, now you can't have the cake and eat it too. When there is high growth, you have a problem. It happened in another government, you have a problem. If it happened with this government, you would be happy. Now have a consistent position that high growth is required to become a Viksit Bharat.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Don't say if 7 is, then it's good. If it was 10, it was bad. That is not a consistent argument to make.
Certainly not. Everybody wants the highest growth, but you have to see the context in which this growth takes place. And Sharan Das,
I think it's important to be aware of inequality, and we do measure it. But I wish we would also measure opportunity, because it is opportunity that will reduce inequality in the end. And therefore, instead of obsessing with 1% owning so much, let us, instead of just talking Gini coefficients, let us talk about how the job creation is going on, because we have a long way to go. I mean, we are not in nirvana, but are we on the right track? Are we creating? And for that, we've talked about, we need to create an industrial revolution still, etc., etc.
Can I make one point here?
Yes, Monica, absolutely. Every time you want to make a point, I will come straight to you, because, the sexist remarks have really upset me this morning.
Being a woman in finance, you sort of dismiss
Being a woman anywhere in this country,
but dismiss it more in finance.
Because Sanjay Jha is not normally like this, I take offense.
Yeah.
Other people, I don't know.
We'll just let it go. No, so all I'm saying is that there is a certain way to measure wealth with households, of which the household gold, what mainly the women wear and own, is excluded. Now, if we were to find a way to include that, those metrics would change hugely, because the Indian households own like so much gold, and every woman, that's really her security, her asset. So should we be able to impute a number to that, this inequality debate on the wealth, I think, would change a bit.
Well, absolutely, but because you talk of gold, let's go straight across. We have breaking news coming in on the literal crash. No, crash is a bit much, but there has been a dip in the prices of gold and silver. This is not just a dip, it's a massive drop, and I'd like Hina to take us through what is really the extent. We've seen almost a 20 to 30% decrease in gold and silver prices. Reason, and are we going to see a further dip?
You mentioned about the factor T that we need to be careful about. So it's the same T factor that's behind this drop in gold and silver prices. It's US President Donald Trump. There has been a surge as far as US dollar is concerned, because reports came out early that Trump administration was preparing to nominate Kevin Warsh for US Fed Reserve Chair, and that is the reason why markets went into a bit of a tizzy, and gold as well as silver both have slumped. Gold prices have slumped more than 12%. They are below $5,000 an ounce, and that's the biggest single day decline that we've seen since 1980s. Many were saying that we are not really going to see a crash, but it has happened.
Well, it's happened, and yes, in India for 10 grams, gold prices are down literally 9,000 rupees per 10 grams, and silver prices down by about 17,000 rupees per kg. And joining me this morning is Mr. Nilesh Shah, MD of Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company, and also member of the Prime Minister's Economic Affairs Committee. Mr. Nilesh Shah, how are you looking at the overall sentiment as we go into the budget, the crash in prices of gold and silver? What is the future market likely to be? Where should people be investing? And how are the markets looking at the budget today?
The sentiments vary depending upon whether you are an investor or a speculator. A speculator in precious metal market or F&O trading in equity market is unlikely to be happy. The markets have been fairly volatile, and speculators clearly are losing their money. On the other hand, investors who have followed asset allocation are still winning, and equity markets in particular today are cautiously optimistic. The valuations are high. Delivery has been slightly delayed. For last 6 quarters, our earnings growth has been in single digit. This quarter, it is impacted by labor code as well as rupee depreciation. Next quarter also, it is likely to be impacted by rupee depreciation. However, the long-term outlook still continues to be positive, and which is where we are looking forward to the budget, how it can change the orbit of the economy.
Are you expecting any changes in the long-term capital gain tax or STT? Because many people have been expecting some corrections there.
So the market does have expectations ahead of budget, but that is more of a hope or a prayer rather than real expectation. But one expectation which we have, there are many FPIs like endowment funds, charitable trust, pension funds. They don't pay tax in their own country. And in India, they are being taxed. We have provided tax exemption to sovereign funds, to citizens of nations like Singapore, Middle East, Netherlands. Can we extend the same exemption to entities which don't pay any tax in their home country? This can create a level playing field for FPIs. You don't pay tax in your country, you don't pay tax in our country. This could bring FPI flows into the market.
Well, we have big breaking news coming in as well. President Trump, has stated, and it's a big claim that is being made on India, having made a deal to buy Venezuelan oil.
Madhav? Big one. That's a big one. He's speaking on board Air Force One. This is a White House release that has come out on YouTube, and he is very clearly saying that China is welcome to come in and make a great deal on oil. We already have made a deal. India is coming in, and they're going to be buying Venezuelan oil as opposed to buying it from Iran. So we've already made the concept of the deal. We know oil purchases have been a huge
let's
sticking
listen
point.
into President Trump speaking on Air Force One.
Well, we haven't discussed that, but we're getting along very well with the leadership of Venezuela. They're doing a really good job. We're going to be selling a lot of oil, and we'll take some, and they'll take a lot, and they're going to do very well. They're going to make more money than they've ever made, and it's going to be beneficial to us. We're going to really, I think Venezuela is really going to turn around. You know, I opened up the airspace over Venezuela so that now people from Venezuela came from Venezuela here. They're going to be able to go back for the first time, go back to Venezuela and stay perhaps, or go back and see their relatives, go for a short period of time.
Sir, do you think China's going to get their money back for all the money they lent to Venezuela for
I don't
oil?
know. I don't know anything about that, but I'll tell you what, China is welcome to come in and would make a great deal in oil. You know, we welcome China. We've already made a deal. India is coming in, and they're going to be buying Venezuelan oil.
Well, India's been going to buy Venezuelan oil, and already the Congress is in a twist this morning. Jairam Ramesh extremely worried about why he gets news from Trump and not from India. That's his biggest question. Shahzad Poonawalla, do you want to answer that one? Why does Trump tell us what India should?
Navika, this is, I think, see, at least with somebody as, somebody as experienced as you, I would expect that you would put out that before 2019 sanctions on Venezuelan oil kicked in, India was anyways buying a lot of Venezuelan oil. And India's energy decisions are based on supply, diversification and rates. Now, when these three things align, we will go and buy the energy wherever we find it cheap, wherever we find supply is ensured, and wherever we want to diversify so that we are not dependent on one person or one entity or one country selling it to us. So this is a completely commercial decision. If at all these decisions are going forward, these are taken especially on the basis of only commercial interests of India. For instance, when we bought the Russian oil when the Russian-Ukraine war started, at that time we have saved lakhs and lakhs of crores of rupees, which translated to benefits to the Indian consumers. Now, if the economic decision is based on a market for supply forces, the Russian companies have been sanctioned. So therefore, because of that, it's not possible to buy. We will go to the next best place to buy. So I don't think in Iran
as simple as that. Visuals of Finance Minister reaching Parliament after her visit to the Rashtrapati, and those are visuals of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman reaching Parliament. But Sanjay Jha doesn't agree with you, neither does Vivek Srivastava. Sanjay Jha, what's your objection now?
Navika, there is a simple, I would say, national ethic that we should always subscribe to, not allow our decisions to be unilaterally, globally announced by another leader of another country, from the military ceasefire during Operation Sindoor down to being told 70 times by Donald Trump and not being challenged by Mr. Modi. Mr. Modi, as a head-to-head, which is the peer-to-peer conversation, has not once challenged Donald Trump's assertions on military ceasefire. Now, on a critical issue, you are aware of that as far as Iran oil is concerned, even in the past under US pressure, India has backed out. Even on Russian oil, the same back out. So we are demonstrating an extremely weak, spineless character here. And this puts India literally like a pushover on the international chessboard of not just diplomatic politics, but including on terms of economic negotiation. It makes us look weak, and that's my biggest, shall we say, beef about this government. This government cannot has not demonstrated.
You have several things that are your beef with the government, and on a spiritual note, not on a any other note. वो कहते हैं ना कि सरस्वती कंठ में रहती है. Suddenly आपने disrespect किया एक महिला को, आपके गले में.
No, that is your interpretation. That is your interpretation.
Obviously.
I will challenge that on social media today. I will challenge it as a deliberate conspiracy on this show to make me out, singling me out, because I actually debunked a flawed economic argument.
My friend, you did not. My friend, if you had debunked her proposition without calling her that woman economist, you would have gone ahead and done it. You do it routinely every night. I'm sorry, everyone. Tell me, was I wrong in understanding? Was I wrong? Did I actually play mischief with Sanjay Jha's statement? And I want a vote across this panel. Did I play mischief, or were his words out of line? Yes or no? Simple. Words out of line? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, certainly.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Why do you have to stress woman? You could have just said
Sharan
economist.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how it came through, although he may not have actually intended it.
Well, then we are not responsible for getting into people's minds. We are responsible for what we hear. And Sanjay Jha, the jury here has spoken. Let's not. You want to go on social media and say anything, you're most free. It's a free country. But please do go ahead. But this panel, this studio is absolutely clear what you sounded like. But
fair enough.
Shehzad, respond to the substantive points made by Sanjay Jha on being a spineless government.
See, Navika, you have very senior people like Gurcharanji sitting in the panel, and they will tell you that India's policy of energy purchase has been announced long back, that it is a pragmatic policy. हमको जहां सस्ता मिलेगा, जहां हमारा इंटरेस्ट सब होगा, हम वहां से खरीदेंगे. Every spot and commercial purchase is not announced by India. But if somebody like the President of America is going out of his way to offer us the Venezuelan oil, you should in fact see that this is the strength of India. कि भाई इंडिया की ताकत देखो. We have said that we will do the deal of trade deal only when our agricultural interests are taken care of. We did not listen about the Russian oil. We have only gone and been governed by the commercial interests, and we are taking the decision based on the national interests of India. And even if in your view that American president is saying it for the Venezuelan oil, so it should be seen that how India has become powerful, that everybody is chasing. Somebody saying mother of oil deals कर दिया, कोई बोल रहा है कि हमारा तेल अभी आप खरीदेंगे. तो मुझे तो लगता है this is a great recognition of India being on the high table. पर संजय झा की दृष्टि anti women and anti India, क्या करें?
Well, let's look at some breaking news.